Good morning, happy Monday. Welcome to Getting on Track Together with myself, Nathan, Junior, and our special guest. Hi, Pete.
Hi, what are you doing?
Pete Waterman, as we've been telling you about for a little while. We may have been advertising your arrival a little bit, Pete.
Well, sorry I wasn't here last time, but I had COVID.
Oh yeah,
The Sunday night, my son came in and he said, "Dad, you better test." I've just tested and he was cooking, couldn't smell it, so he went and did a test. He said, "I'm positive for COVID," so I went and tested and I was positive.
Well,
and I didn't want to come and spread it, so I self-isolated for 3 days. And after all that time, it's 2 years later I get COVID.
Sensible. Well, I'm glad you're okay. But yeah, so we're big believers here, and when it's the right time that you were going to do it's the right time. So this is the exact moment that you were supposed to be here.
Good.
So I hope you're okay today. If you're not feeling great this morning, then please remember that two really important things. You can change the day; it only takes a second, and you don't have to go through it alone, which is a big part of what we're doing. It's good to talk. We are trying to reach out and normalize the conversations that we all need to have more of, and stop the stigma around talking about our stuff. So as I said, today we're very happy to welcome Pete. We're going to be asking some questions hoping we've been having a great chat before we started. And
it's good to talk.
It's great to talk.
Exactly, that's what it's all about.
Perfect. That's going to be a great one. But yeah, it's awesome listening to you. You were talking before about Rick Astley and when you're Kenny Gamble as well, and it's obviously when you're listening to some. Then everybody that you're talking about.
Some great stories.
It's fantastic. So I can't wait for more of that. I want to say quickly thank you to Avanti and Laura, especially Community Champion, and all the team at Runcorn here. Really appreciate it. We are having the use of this space because we are in the community lounge at Runcorn Station. So you may hear just in regular intervals a little robotic-y sort of voice going off. It's the train announcers, which are up there.
I always say, if you're hearing the train, you've missed it.
You've missed it.
If you're watching this, you're never going to make it.
So we are set for our show. So the first thing we always do is we share our quote of the day.
That's
your quote of the day.
I've got a quote of the day, and it's from an American guy called Dr. Zeus. And it says here, you have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes, you can steer yourself any direction you choose.
Wow,
I like that.
Yeah, it's good.
Dr. Zeus.
Yeah.
Apparently he was a clever bloke.
Yeah. I think it was. Is it Dr. Zeus as in the writer?
Yeah. The children's author. That guy.
I think he used that as a synonym, didn't he?
Yeah, it's good.
But anyway, do you like that one? Have you got any good quotes that you live by? That, come to mind straight away, or?
Yeah, don't believe anybody else. Just do it.
Yeah. Because that touches on a lot. Because we want to get back to that after, don't we? But you were talking about that, about people's. We don't have to go on people's perceptions of you, do you?
I've never done that.
No, I like that.
I mean, the thing is, you learn, or I learned as a kid. I think you've got to be happy within yourself. Yeah. So I wasn't. I had a sister. Mates, I had a few. Maybe 2 or 3. I mean, real friends, not just acquaintances. I was happy being on my own, just being in the garden playing or whatever. So I was never sort of worried about being popular with my mates at all. It was never in my psyche.
That's really stood you in good stead, hasn't it?
Yeah, because as we said earlier, I learnt from the very beginning, never read anything about yourself, because people writing those reviews don't know you. They've got an opinion, and everybody's got an opinion. And if you're going to listen to other people's opinions, you're never going to do anything.
Yeah, there's a few good sayings about opinions, but
they're like arseholes.
It's a fact generalize, you know what I mean? Yeah. The other quote is, "Nobody can bring you peace but yourself." So today's topic on the background is about that inner peace, and I think actually what you're just saying is very, very similar to that. You had, because you didn't need to naturally have that validation from other people,
Yeah.
which then gives you that natural peace that you're not trying to live for other people all the time.
I had a frightening experience this week where somebody said to me, we were talking about modern internet and things. We were talking about this whole thing about influencers.
Yeah.
And to me, it's appalling. I mean, tastemakers are appalling. And somebody said to me, well, you're you're an influencer. That appalled me.
Yeah.
Because I said, no, I'm not. That's not what I am. Yeah. I play what I think people want to hear. If they don't want to hear it, I don't try and sell it them. No. Where I'm not suddenly saying you can buy this product now for $1 and there's only a million of it and it's cost you 4 cents to buy. Yeah. That's the American way, And right from the very beginning, I was never worried about having hits in America, which of course the British record industry is obsessed with having hits in America. Yeah. And it never interested me.
Why do you think that was?
Because the Americans were all, I soon learned, very early on in my career, the Americans were all about, well, if you want a piece, I want a piece back. Well, I wasn't giving a piece to anybody. Yeah. I worked hard for what I got. Yeah. And if I've got to pay you and you ain't done anything, all I'm doing is paying you to tell me you like my record. I'm not interested. Yeah. That's not what it's about.
That's the thing comes back where bands, I don't know if it's still happening, but back in the day as a band, where they were asking you pay to play. So you go to a place and you have to pay them to play at the venue. That was
yeah.
I've lit the fuse there, Pete.
Well, I just, I remember, the last band I worked with, it was like, those open mic nights. They're a con. Yeah. They're a con, You're pulling in your crowd because they had a decent little following and they're taking the money. And it's like, you'd expect it to do sort of 30 or 40 of these to build your following up. You go, listen, write a good song. You don't need to play 40 gigs.
So a band would do? So the open mic, how would you mean that?
Well, in London, I know we're talking about in London, what you did was, there were these open mic nights which you took the band to. Yeah. So, but you only got them if you had a following. So if you could take 60 or 70 people, which we did on a regular 100, 150, they're all paying £3 on the door. Yeah. So the band are having to pay 450 quid to actually get on the gig. Yeah. And you don't do that, you don't get on. Yeah. And if you've only got, say, 6 mates, you ain't getting on, they're not interested. Yeah, yeah. Wow. So, and you're talking.
Very open, is it?
No, but then, no. That's the way it works. Yeah. So,
So how did you, because obviously it's the first time I've met you today. And I'm 44. So going back to, when I was growing up as a kid, I wasn't in the hit factory in that sort of era. I was like a few years too late for that.
Right.
And I was quite sheltered. So the first experience, as in when I knew of you, was on TV. Pop Stars.
Oh, Pop Stars Arrivals.
Yeah. Was it Pop Idols? Well,
I did Pop Idols, the first one.
So those shows there. And you had a bit of like a persona, didn't you? You were almost like Simon Cowell before Simon Cowell, in a sense.
Well, I think the truth is, that I hope what you see is what you get. Yeah. And I'll tell the truth. Yes. I won't lie. I won't be nasty. Yeah. Yeah. But if you ask me for an opinion, you'll get it. Yeah. If you're not ready for that opinion, don't ask me. Yeah. So when we went into the first Pop Idol, well, we'd watched Pop Stars. Simon and I had been in the background at ITV on Pop Stars. Right. Okay. But Simon had walked away. He didn't like the programme. So he walked away. So we didn't participate in the final 2 shows. And then he rang me. He said he got this idea. And it was called Pop Idol. And, at that time, we hung out together regularly. And I was like so busy with Steps at that point because Steps were massive. Wow, yeah, cool. Yeah, so I just thought, well, I'll get 5 weeks on the road with ITV paying me, and I'll get 5 weeks holiday, and I'm out with my mate getting drunk every night. It's like, well, I'll have a bit of this. I'll have a bit of this. And it really was ITV's idea to make me Mr. Nasty.
I wonder why they would do that.
Well, because they'd seen Nigel on Pop Stars, and they thought that they could make me into Mr. Nasty, but and obviously that's what Simon is on. The truth is, I'm not nasty. So you can't paint me Mr. Nasty because I ain't. So what happened was, we go on the show that 4 or 5 weeks in, of course, everybody's talking about me in the media and on ITV. And of course, Simon, whose show it is, suddenly goes, "Oh Christ, he's getting all of the attention." Yeah. So he decides to become Mr. Nasty. Right. Which Simon is quite blunt. He has a very strong, blunt opinion. I always say to people, what you see is what you get. It's not put on. That is Simon. He can't be nice to anybody because it's a matter of fact to him. So it was like, there was that one episode that we did with, they dressed me as Darth Vader. And the two boys that were coming down, and in the contestants, if they didn't behave, powerful Pete would come down and I burst all these doors. I remember sitting there, and I remember the head of ITV was called Claudia Rosenkranz, ringing me and said, "The one person that shouldn't be Darth Vader is you."
And then everybody that's mentioned you, what a smashing bloke, what a nice bloke. And that is testament to you, I think, isn't it?
Unfair. I mean, I remember one of the most money I ever made out of those series. Simon rang me one day and said he'd been approached by another company, but it was a massive American company. Yeah. And I said, "Yeah, what are you doing it?" Yeah, he said, "I'll do it if you do it." I said, "Well, never asked him how much it was. Wasn't really into it because it was such a great man. It was a bit of fun." We turned up, and I remember the director calling me, and he says, "Simon said I better talk to you." I said, "Okay." He said, "I don't understand why." I said, "I understand why. What time are we starting work?" The first question, he went, "Well, about 7 o'clock. I said, "Right, there's the first thing you can forget. We won't be starting till 10 o'clock. So I said, we'll all be there for 7, but you ain't going to see Simon before 10. So anything that we can do without Simon, get out the way first." And then I said, run me through what you want Simon to do, and I'll sit down and make sure that you get what you want. Because I said, you won't keep Simon's attention for the 4 hours filming that you want. You just won't keep it. It's just not that. It doesn't happen like that. So so he said, "Okay, well, we had a ball, and the reason we had a ball was because when we were in Manchester, the show wasn't going great, and the way we really originally set it up was one camera in the room with the judges. So the contestant would come in, they'd reset the camera to film the contestant, then they'd reset the camera to set the judges, and it just wasn't working. So we took a break, and I said to the director at the time, "Right, we've got this wrong. We need 2 more cameras. You need a camera with Ant and Deck all the time. You need a camera on the judges all the time and a camera on the contestant all the time. You've got to film all 3 because it's into reaction." And so we had a break, and they sent for 2 more cameras, and we got 2 cameras. And then it was it was unbelievably fortuitous. Girl walked in, and I've forgotten her name. Forgive me for that for a minute. She walked in, she's done, and it was my turn to lead off the judges. So I said to her, "Okay, love, where are you from?" "Stoke." "Oh," I said, "Hello, my duck, how are you?" She said, "Oh, great. I said, "What are you going to do for us?" She said, "I'm going to do, a song, YMCA. I'll never forget it." I said, "Great." She started. She didn't even know the words. She was actually didn't know the words, and you could see she was dying to laugh. And we got tears rolling down her face. I went, "Stop! Hold on a minute. Do I know your mother?" And she went, "No." I said, "Well, why she sent you to torment me?" Because it was like, and that's suddenly became the show. You know? And Caroline, her name was. And so we got her in this Pizza Hut. Oh, I didn't say that, but and it was just fun. But it was that, to me, it was about talking to the contestants. Why have you come? And you know, the one thing that we had, which again you don't see anymore. You can't see it. You just can't be there anymore. We had mums bring contestants, and that was excruciating. You know, because they used to. It's like parents at football matches. It could get quite het up. You know, and I remember quite often having to sit down with the mother and calm them down and talk to them, you know, and just say, look,
I can imagine it. Do you know something that stands out? I wanted to ask you actually while you're talking about this, was that it really stands out to me that there was a period, sort of going through the 2000s, probably start of the 90s with Nigel, like you mentioned it before. And then there was this period where we had a lot of TV where it was Simon Cowell was then portrayed as Mr. Nasty, and we had Gordon Ramsay doing the chef thing, and Jeremy Kyle, and there was like this culture on TV of intense bullying, right?
Yes.
Do you feel that, you know, how do you feel about that with regards to a talent show? Like, you know, because it didn't have the same, when you were on it, it didn't seem to have that same.
That's why I'm not on it.
So, all right.
I walked away. My son died. So, you know, I was about to go to America with Simon and do America's Got Talent. My son died. So I just said, I can't do this anymore. I've got to take a break now. You know, I must put my family first. So, and then when I came back, when X Factor came on, I still wasn't ready. So the idea was I'd come back in the second series. And then I just said to Simon, watching it, this is not for me. You know, this is not for me. It was all based around Jerry Springer. I mean, we'd gone down the Jerry Springer route. And to me, I watched that in America and was appalled by it. And so, you know, it got, I think it got silly to the point of ridiculousness, but they spoilt it for me. Because you can't bully people, but bullying's stupid. Well, who wins? You know, you don't win.
I mean, I think the things for me were the ones where, when it went to like the big live audiences and you've got a few thousand people in the room, and then to think, because I've been up on a stage, you know, we've all been up on a stage, right? But to think that you've got all these people there, and then you're pushed into this place, and then all of a sudden you're not feeling, you know what I mean? I think for me that was those are the times when I felt very sorry for the.
Well, you can't. I don't feel sorry. Okay, I don't feel sorry because you shouldn't be there. Shouldn't be there. Shouldn't put yourself in situations where you can't handle it. I've never done that. And I remember one of the nicest things I did, which I got a very big award for, I did choir idol at Coventry Cathedral with school kids forming a Christmas choir. And I remember sitting down with the kids and explaining what television was like, what disappointment was like. And I, you know, explained whether, you know, it's this. But once we finished, you know, that's it. And I remember, to me, it was incredible seeing the kids enjoying singing, and we had all sorts of faiths in Coventry Cathedral singing Christmas carols. You know, we fought the Education Authority because it was very difficult. We fought quite a few religions, but at the end of the day, it was a multiracial and multi-community, and it was fantastic in the end. On the night, every parents were coming up and saying, "This is fantastic. We didn't want this to happen, but it's fantastic. We've never seen our children enjoy themselves so much."
That's amazing.
And you say, when we did Pop Idol, because I was that much older than Foxy and Simon, you couldn't see this because we put a tablecloth in front of my feet because I would kick them, and I would kick them hard. You know, and I wouldn't allow any bullying. So
if there was something, if the conversation was going down,
I'd stop it. And also I'd stop the filming. So if I remember, we had one instance, boys being boys, where Simon and Foxy got a little bit carried away, and I just kicked them, and they still didn't stop. So I said, "Stop filming that, right? Stop." And it was a young girl. I said, "Sorry about this." I said, but there was a joke before you came in, and they haven't stopped laughing.
Sorry, mate, we're in the middle of a talk show right now. It's going out live. Do you want to just drop that down somewhere?
Avanti, is it like that?
Yeah, that's in the other room. If you go to the other, it's the waiting room, and there.
All right, nice one,
No worries. Cheers, dude.
Yeah, so I mean, it was like, and I we stopped the filming. I explained to the young girl. She went back out, and I gave Foxy and Simon the biggest bollocking I think they've ever had in their life. And I said to the directors, "I'm sorry, this is not acceptable."
Yeah.
Because it was quite obvious that this girl was vulnerable.
Yeah.
It was quite. I was looking at her.
Yeah.
She was vulnerable. I mean, and to me, if you see someone is vulnerable, then you instantly back off.
Yeah.
You're polite.
Yeah.
You don't heighten what the problem is. You just go and he says that we can't use that, and you move on.
Yeah.
And that's what we did in that whole Pop Stars Arrivals and Pop Idol, the 2 Pop Idols I did. I never allowed any. You never saw anybody was bullied because I made. They knew ITV knew that I would take them out of the show.
Yeah.
So when you said about your son, and that I can't even comprehend, being a parent. How did that? Because obviously you said at that time, then you didn't do the series. How did that? Did that change? Did that period of time? Did that change your outlook on life? Did it change your content of life and what you were doing with your life?
Well, the year before, 2 years before, sorry, we were flying with Steps. I mean, we had selling records like they'd gone out of fashion, and we were doing like 20 nights at Wembley, and it was like unbelievable time. And it was coming to Christmas, and they took my youngest son, who worked in the studio. Both sons worked for me, but one worked in Manchester. My youngest son worked with me in London. Took him out. He had a go-kart accident. It took 70% of his body in fire, and so he was in a coma for 4 weeks. So my eldest son and I sat there throughout this period. Within 2 years, my eldest son was dead. So I'd gone through this horrendous period of having one son that we didn't think would make it, that made it, and a son that there were no signs that he was poorly, didn't make it. And I just, at that point, you have to look at life and think, well, I've had the good times. Yeah. These are the bad times. Yeah. And so what I did, I knew I had to keep myself busy. I knew that music couldn't keep me busy because I just knew that it couldn't. And so I just literally absorbed myself into model railways and the railways. And that did keep me busy. Yeah. And whenever I felt that I had a grief was coming over me, I'd go into the room and immerse myself in the modelling or get on with the railway.
Was this a mindful, purposeful thing?
Oh yes.
You were purposely saying, right, so I need to do this.
Oh yes. This was like, if I picked up the phone, I remember coming home one Thursday night because I work in London, usually Tuesday to Thursday. So I was coming home one Thursday night, and I lifted up the phone to call my son to go for a pint. And it was like, oh my God, so the minute I go home, straight into the railway room, absorb myself. It's like I need to focus now on something positive because I can't. It's easy to be negative, It's easy to sit here and feel sorry for myself. And I know this sounds silly, but the saving grace was the morning my son died was the tsunami. And so I was watching all these families decimated and thinking to myself, well, I've only lost a son. These people have lost a whole family. Yeah. So I was thinking to myself, well, it ain't that bad.
And that time was around Christmas time, wasn't it?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. He died on New Year's Day.
Yeah.
So it was like that was the sort of mindset that I put myself into. I mean, I still miss him to this day because he was my best mate.
Yeah.
But and I've got no family that live now, and they're all gone. But you still remember them with great passion.
Yeah.
But you know, it's something you just have to get over.
When you say about how you dealt with it at that time, and you did the distraction and taking yourself away, did you at the time did you allow yourself to deal with it as well? Did you cry and have those moments?
Yeah, I mean, the saddest part about it was for me, I knew, he was on a life support machine, and we knew that we were going to switch it off, and we knew that the doctors had said the minute they switched it off, because he was at 92%, that he would be dead within 6 to 8 hours. So the body couldn't sort. So I said, I want to be there. So I get a call from the hospital. I didn't get a call from the hospital. So I get my driver to take me to hospital. He was in the London Brain Hospital at King's. I got there at 5 o'clock, and I walked in the door at 5 o'clock because I thought we'd be about 6:30, 7 o'clock. And the nurse looked at me and said, "Can I help you, Mr. Waterman?" I said, "I've come to see Paul." She said, "He died 2 hours ago." And I went, "What?" He said, "Died 2 hours ago." I said, "But he had instructions to call me." Well, we called his sister. I said, "His sister's in Coventry, for God's sake." And his mum, couldn't get here anyway because she had MS. So the instruction to call me. Do you know, I left that hospital. They never offered me a cup of tea. They don't offer me any counselling. No. And I walked out of that hospital into the car, and I swear to you, if I'd have been driving, I could have killed anybody because I didn't know. You just don't know. You're not there.
Yeah.
You're in a fog.
Yeah.
And it was like, I remember that night, my assistant coming in from Cambridge, and I'm sitting in a dark room, and she bought me a bag of chips. It was like, come on, let's get round this, So I understand, but because I'm a half full glass guy, you've got to get over it.
Yeah.
On this weekend, I've lost a very, very good friend suddenly, and her husband is devastated, and I've got the strength to say, "Rod, you've got to do this. Don't forget this." But you've got to get on now. You can't forget it. It's going to take you 3 years before you can live with it, but you've got to accept the pain. This is what it's like.
Do you know that actually what you just said? That's massive, and something that they're accepting the pain, and that's, I think, what a lot of people that I find that I talk to. It's one of the fears why people don't want to deal with stuff, why people don't want to get the tears and the memories.
Hey, listen, it's good to talk. It's good to cry. It's better to cry than it is to talk. There is nothing wrong with a man crying.
No. Do you do fist pumps? Because that's like a fist pump moment.
Oh no. Oh, but no. To me, it's like, I mean, I'm emotional. That's why I write emotional songs. But if you're not emotional, then you can't be passionate about things.
You have no empathy if you're not emotional, innit?
Yeah, but everybody at some point is emotional about something. Whether it be a dog or a cat or a child or whatever.
Often, a lot of men, especially in our country, I find that you naturally, it's turned off, that emotion. So I was having a conversation recently with someone where we were saying about how it's hard to have both. So you can't have that passion that you just said about without having the pain and the emotional connection on the other side. So I love what you've done. You've accepted the pain and you've got to let it in, haven't you?
Listen, let's put it in a different way. Okay, everybody loves something, whether it's football, whether it's cricket, whatever it is, right?
Cricket.
Well, whatever it is, you're passionate about it. And when your team gets beat, it hurts.
Of course it does.
It hurts.
I'm an Evertonian.
Right. So exactly. But so you know it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the same passion.
Yeah.
It's the same passion, but nobody relates that to that passion. It is, it's when you score that goal that you're not expecting.
Yeah.
You go, fantastic. But for some unknown reason, people disconnect that with emotion.
Yeah.
Well, it is emotion.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's an emotion about a football match, which you could win and you could lose.
Yeah.
But I've been listening on the way to Talk Sport, I mean, all the Arsenal fucking fans are in tears, right? They lost the championship. They're still 4 points ahead. But that's what it's about. That's passion. No, if you said to those guys, you know, man up, they would go, no, I got them. Of course you're emotional. You've been on the phone here moaning about the game. So, you know, in a funny way, it's still about feelings.
Yeah, exactly what you mean.
It is.
Yeah, it's funny that so many people are able to, you know, look at the football thing, but then in life, they'll go, oh no, you know, I get totally what you mean.
I think the other thing that we have to take into account these days is the breakdown of the family. The breakdown of the families is definitely had a massive. See, I had a great family, so it's easy for me to sit here because I've had a very stable family from when I was a child. It wasn't trouble free, of course it wasn't, but it was, you know, it was stable.
Gives you the foundations, doesn't it?
Yeah, my mum died when she was 50. And I remember, and I get even that was a driving thing for me because, you know, she died and all she had was a wedding ring. That was it. A walking stick and a wedding ring. That was a total life of working herself to death. Was a wedding ring and a walking stick, and we lived in a council house, and it was like, okay, this is not for me. I ain't gonna work like this and end up with nothing. You know. So it was like, and my mum was great because, you know, wait till your dad gets home. My dad used to go, listen, just behave yourself. You know what I mean? So, and my mum, who was disabled, she used to get so angry. She could throw a broom better than Tessa. She'd never miss me. I'd run as fast as I could, and she'd still hit me around the head with a broom. Boom. But I was told Tessa Sanderson, you were never as good as my mum. My mum was pretty brilliant.
What I really was interested in was when you got into model railways, because this is such a big part of your life now, isn't it?
Well, I've been into model railways from my birth. I mean, I had my first train set in 1948.
I seen a photo of you on a little black and white photo of you. They show there where you're under where you live. You're there. Like I can't remember. You must have. I don't know. You looked about. You feel like about 5 years old or something.
I was 3.
Yeah. I know that's on. There's a photo of you. Looking at the railway thing.
No, I've had my granddad. I live with my granddad. My grandmother has died a long time ago. So I live with my granddad and my mum and dad. And my dad and my granddad went to see Coventry City play Northampton Town the day before Christmas Eve in Northampton, and they bought me a train set, or my granddad bought me a train set on that night. And so they came back, and I set it up Christmas Day, which was 1948. And I was only 1, but I never forgot it. And so I've never been without a train set, you know. And when, as I say, you know, tough things get too tough. I mean, even in the studio, you know, when days got tough in the studio, I was having model railways, and if it got too tough, I'd just lock myself in the office and take out a carriage or a wagon or an engine and just take an hour to chill out and build something, you know.
That just listening to you and going back with you into, you know, when you're talking about that, it must have really, really helped your life so much from such a young age to have that outlet that you can just go and focus your brain on something.
But I'm one of them people that I'm interested. I'm interested in you and what you do, and I'm interested in life, and I'm interested, you know, am I a football fan? I like a bit of rugby, I like a cricket, I like running, you know, even watch, you know, at the weekend, watch the Grand National. I've been watching horses. My dad was a massive horse fan, you know. Terrible gambler. I mean, 50p on there. So my mum would never allow him to bet more than 50p. But I mean, you know, he thought he was a gambler. So I'm just generally interested in everything around me, you know. And that keeps you busy.
Exactly.
It keeps you focused. You know. So
100%.
Yeah.
One of the things that we talk about is we talk about a mood meter. So how we all have essentially like a mood meter. You know, your mood for the day is dependent on what.
I don't have one.
What you put in, you know. So
I don't have a mood meter.
Okay,
I don't have, seriously, I don't have a mood meter.
Yeah.
What you say? I'm like this all the time. Yeah, and I see that. Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's part of my life. Yeah, in that case, I've got loads of them. Yeah, yeah. If that's the way, yeah. I mean, it takes a lot to get me down, but I love black and white films.
Oh yeah.
So I would, and I've seen every one of them. I think I've seen. No, I don't like westerns. My dad was a. I don't think I like westerns because my dad was a fanatic.
Yeah, mine too.
You know, I've seen that many Tom Mix films. You know, I could shoot all the cowboys. You know, without drawing the holster. No, but you know, I can watch a black and white movie, probably only for about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But that's if I've, you know, if whatever I need to distraction, I can do that. So, or go to bed.
Yeah.
Or go to bed. I mean, I find it, you know, very easy to go to bed and read. You know, since I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, my mum always told the story. I used to ask to go to bed at 4 o'clock. Yeah, seriously, I still go to bed some days at 6:30.
Yeah.
So go and have a read and
Yeah. I love reading.
Yeah.
And because I couldn't, probably because I couldn't read right till I was 30,
Yeah.
I find reading
Oh
fascinating.
really?
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
that's
Oh yeah, I find it really fascinating.
No, I mean the 30 thing.
Yeah, I was 36 when I learned to read and write.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's brilliant.
I could. I must sort of put a caveat on this. I could write, but I can't. I still can't join up letters.
Yeah.
But I could write. I can't spell.
Yeah.
So that all my assistants and people that work for me have to speak Japanese. You know, this phonetic English.
Yeah.
I'm better now with Google because I could, as you're doing it, you know, it's spell checks for you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So, but I could read like toilet and station and you know things like that.
So have you gone down the route of is it associated with dyslexia or something? Is it? Or,
I was just lazy. Just lazy.
The reason I say that is because I've got I meet lots of people doing this and talking about, and there's a lot of guys. I think I mentioned to you where you've got this pattern that they're very creative people, but with reading English language, then they struggle with the letters. I've got a friend who's met you a few times actually, and he was a nuclear engineer. And all through school, he had the whole dyslexic thing. You're lazy. You know all this, and he ended up becoming a nuclear engineer, hot top of his field. I've got other people as well that are men that are very creative, and they can take things apart with their mind. They don't need measurements. But you ask them to read something, and the letters are going. They can't spell. They can't. It's really interesting to me, like how.
Well, this is really interesting because I'm just being interviewed for a job in Australia.
You've been interviewed for a job, yeah?
Yeah, I'm being interviewed for a job in Australia. 16 days filming.
Oh, right, okay.
And so, you know, these days you have to get interviewed. And this very point came up, you know, and it was like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
We are so tick box orientated, right?
Yeah.
It's like, so I said to the three people doing the interview, we're all young kids, by the way. So this filming is hard work. Don't let anybody kid you that filming isn't hard work. Filming television can be very hard work. So you fly to Australia, it's 24 hours. The 24 hours they give you to recuperate. And I said to these young people, listen, I've just flown to South Africa for 3 days. It's a 14-hour flight. The time difference is an hour. It took me 7 days to get over it, and I'm still feeling jet lag. Wow. So if you think anybody in their 70s can fly to Australia, have 1 day off, and then the next day go into 16 days filming, I've got news for you guys. You're in the wrong world.
Yeah.
And they want to, you know, they want to do your mental ability, you know. And they do these. They got these tests, you know. And I said, guys, I said, did you go to university? Yes. Did you go to university? Yes. Did you go? Yes. Did you get a degree? Yeah. So we left school unable to read and write. I didn't write till couldn't read till I was 36. I said, but I've run 6 hugely successful companies, and the television company you're working for, I've still got their biggest shows. I said, no, I couldn't read and write. So why are you giving me a mental test? They went, well, we got to be because of this. I went, no. It says on there, tick the box. I said, so you should be able to put on that box, well, here's a bloke that's been hugely successful all his life, can't read and write, so there must be another reason why he can do this.
Yeah.
Like you say, he's got the mental ability to look at something and go, that works.
Yeah.
You know, don't know why it works, but that works.
Yeah.
But now, and I think a lot of the problems we've got are because I'm a big technology fan because, of course, I made my fortune out of technology. But now, it's like you ring your bank, and technology is supposed to make it easy. It's more difficult now, particularly for older people. I'm quite savvy, but old people trying to get through to their bank or the NHS, try and sort the pension out. They just don't, they can't do it.
No.
And a lot of the problems we're talking about with people watching this show, they get frustrated at not being understood. Well, it can't be understood if you can't talk to somebody.
There's less talking. There's more technology, and there's more screen conversations, texting conversations, on social media. But actually, communication between human beings, there's less than I think.
Because they got to pay for it. Where are we going with AI? If we think we've got problems now with AI, we're going to have real problems.
Of course, yeah.
Because you're going to put humans against machines. And humans cannot win.
No. Even with the banks, you mentioned the banks before. So in where I live in Frodsham, there's one bank left now, and that's the Nationwide. That's why I bank with the Nationwide.
Yeah.
And every time we go in there, they're lovely staff in there, but there's somebody who always says, have you done internet banking yet? And I said, no, I refuse to do internet banking. There's a reason for that. It's because if everybody does internet banking, there's going to be no banks left, and they're already trying to get rid of all. There's no banks in towns or anything now. But every time she's going with it's safer. You're less likely to be. If anybody commits fraud, then you'll know straight away. But for me, it's a really important thing. We need the people side of it. So if there's no cash machines now, they're taking all the cash machines. There's no banks, they're closing the banks now. So, it's a case where you need that personal side of it.
Well, I've just had, I won't mention Barclays, no, I won't mention the bank. I've just had 6 months of horrendous problems with the bank on my charity. Horrendous. Where literally I haven't been able to pay the staff out of the charity for six months. I've had to pay them out of my own pocket, and now I've got to sort all that out because simply, the paperwork is wrong. So you go to the bank, you have to take your passports, and all the trustees have to go and prove, and it falls down every time. Every single time it falls down because you're talking about. I've got staff in Derbyshire here and in London. You get them all together. They all go to the local branch. And they get the tick, and then it gets fed into the machine, and it still comes back rejected.
There's no personal accountability on this.
No.
There's no one you can talk to sort it out.
And when you talk to somebody, you talk to somebody, they can take you so far. Then you've got to speak to somebody else because that's not their job. Oh well, that's not my. I'll put you on to this guy. He can sort that out.
It's like talking to the HMRC.
Yeah, exactly. I had a situation. Honestly, it's a true story. One of the railway companies, they had to pay an invoice. My invoice was £2,200, right? They sent me £22,000, right? My mate who runs the company rang me instantly and said, "Oh Christ, you ain't going to believe it. I've just pressed the button too quick and I've sent you 22,000." I said, "Don't worry, I'll send it straight back." So no. So I rang my assistant and said, "Listen, they've just sent us that 2,200 and they've just sent us £22,000. Can we send it back in the morning?" She said, "Yeah." She come back to me. She said, "You ain't going to believe this. We can't send it back. Bank won't let us send it back." So it's not our money. No, can't send it back. So I had to physically send the guy £22,000 because he would have been in trouble. It was Christmas, so they were quite busy. So I got a couple of weeks to do it. But it was like I didn't get the money back till March.
Wow.
From December, from November.
Wow. So their mistake, you saw, and then they didn't want. It's unreal, isn't it?
Well, because there is no joined up. There is no one person that can make a decision and look at it and go, "We've got something wrong here."
Yeah.
So all the banks now, and it's a good thing, with the fraud thing, do checks on their accounts. They just do random checks to check your signatures. So I don't know about you, but if I set up a bank account 30 years ago, the signature, I mean, I haven't written a check probably, oh God knows, but I bet your signature is different from it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, definitely.
But now, if it's different, they bounce, they won't. So I've written a check, so we could write checks, we just couldn't transfer money. But they stopped the checks because they said, well, it's not the same. So they have to send you a copy of your own signature for you to copy. So hang on, where's the security in that then?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I found out when I wanted to change bank, I went to one of the modern banks, and somebody had tried to register an account in my name, even got the address.
Oh wow! So
I know it's going on. We understand it's going on, but I mean, we all know now, particularly around here, we got great police unit around here for fraud.
Yeah.
So you just don't open an email, you don't know who it's from.
Yeah, exactly.
You just don't do it. I've been, I've had the company we got done probably 4 or 5 years ago. A Kuna Matata we got done. That's what the scam was called. You opened it up, bang, your computer's gone.
Yeah.
Russians.
Right.
Oh wow!
Right, it took me 6 weeks to get all the data back. But what we didn't pay.
Was that one of those ransomware?
Yeah, ransomware.
So they then sent you a ransom.
Yeah, and when you opened it, it comes up with Kuna Matata.
Oh, geez. So how did you get suited in there?
Because we have a server, and the company we use had to go in and extract all that data. It took them 6 weeks.
Oh wow!
But we did get it all back. Yeah. We did get it all back. But now, of course, with the new things that the police are doing, you're taught not to open any emails. And in fact, you can buy now a service where they deliberately test your security by sending you emails and see who opens them. So you've got to go through your stuff. You don't open anything unless it's this. And we're becoming more aware, but it's the old story. Where there's a scheme, there's a schemer.
Yeah, that's true.
With the railway side of it, now that's a massive part of your life now, isn't it?
It's massive. I'm president of the Railway Benefit Fund, which is a charity, which is the oldest charity in Britain.
What for everybody who hasn't heard of it? So what does he do with it?
Right. So we are we're a charity that is purely voluntary. Yeah. So railway people and not just railway people, but other people, it's to make donations. We're not a subscription, but we help railway staff that are in need. Okay. We've been doing that since 1852. Oh, wow. And right now it's the most difficult time. When I became president, which I've been president for 5 years, we were getting a call every 16 minutes. We now get a call every 6 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, we got people, the big thing now is people sleeping in cars because they've had their homes repossessed.
Sorry, is this, when you say this is current staff
yes.
You work for?
Yes.
That's who you're helping, and that's
yes. This is railway staff that, you hear about drivers on £100,000 a year, but there are a lot of railway staff actually on less than the minimum wage when you work it out. And, probably last week we helped at least 3 people that were keeping their jobs but literally living in their cars.
Wow.
So, in COVID we were helping homeschooling and computers and things like that. We do help older members who didn't get pensions. We've still got members that left the railway quite some time ago before the big pensions came in. We help widows as well, railwaymen, and it's not unusual to buy a fridge for somebody.
Right.
So
how do you manage to get the funding for this? Is this because you said
voluntary?
So it's all donations? All
donations. I give about, like tomorrow, I've got all day tomorrow going around companies begging. The railway industry is very generous in that respect. Network Rail particularly are helping us because we do have monster problems within our industry at the moment. So more and more we look to see new ways of, so we run special trains, which we do for enthusiasts. Avanti has just given us all the first class light table lamps out of the refurbished Pendolinos, which we're selling off. A lot of the companies give us their nameplates when they take them off. We auction those. So we've got some very generous donators as well. People that genuinely do support us with massive funds.
Well, it sounds very much like it's much needed.
It is.
So I don't think, because obviously, because we touch on, we don't go into politics as such, right? But we do we talk about things, topics and what are relative at the time. And obviously we talked about the strikes a little bit. So I think that based on the campaign that was done from the government regarding, trying to get the argument looking from this side of it, whichever side of it was they wanted. And I think a lot of people don't understand the problems that a lot of rail staff are facing, like you said about the drivers. I think that's what a lot of people have unfortunately been fed, that why are they striking? They've got plenty of money, and that's not the case, is it, at all?
No. One train has one driver. That train has a train manager, and then probably 4 to 5 catering staff. So there's one person earns a decent living. His argument, by the way, why he was striking was completely different from anybody else's.
And then you've got the station staff as well, haven't you?
Which is in a different grade. You've got the signalman there in a different grade. So it gets, the problem is with railways, they're very, very complicated. They're very expensive to run, but they're very complicated. So we're constantly, we've just talked about AI, and we've talked about, you're doing it online, and your banks are closing down. You can't do that to a railway. And unfortunately, still, and this is not just this government, all governments don't get railways. They don't get it. It's, well, you can modernise it. You can't pass a signal at red. So if there's a problem, you stop. And you can do, you can do away with contractors, you can get cheaper contracts, but you can't have, on one hand, an attitude says that we must reduce the cost of maintaining our railway, and then say, but we must up the standards of quality and safety, because they're both valid, but they don't square the circle. They're both absolutely opposite. So I've been on the rail, I started on the railway in 1962. So I've commuted weekly, and for 10 years I did every day since 1968. So I've probably done more miles than any driver will ever do in their career, and I'm still doing 2 journeys a week or 3 journeys every week. I see the railway, I don't see them through rose tinted glasses, but I've never travelled by car, because why would you sit in a traffic jam? We do get problems on the railway, of course we do, and the strikes have been unfortunate, of course they are, because again, I think I still hold a union card. I've held my union card since I was 15, and I was a senior shop steward for 4 or 5 years. So I've got a background of trade unions. One thing I don't agree with, and I've never agreed with, although ultimately sometimes it's the only way, I don't agree with strikes. I don't believe for members that you ever make the money on a strike back. So if you go on strike because there's something gone wrong for the day and you're trying to prove a point, I understand that. But 5 and 6 weeks, you can never recover that money. You can't, it's impossible. So, you've got to be more pragmatic. And the reason I stopped being a senior shop steward in the end was because it's about politics. And I ain't about politics. So if you want to convince me that we should be communist, you're talking to the wrong guy. Right? You're talking to the wrong guy. You weren't talking to me about being a capitalist, you're talking to the wrong guy.
Yeah.
You know, I ain't that guy.
Yeah.
You know, if you were to, if you were to actually say, well, I'm probably a fantastic liberal, but, you know, where's the Liberal Party? You know, so you've got this dichotomy, but I don't agree, and I've never agreed with people that go to meetings on a Thursday night, branch meetings, and make rules for the general members who just want to go to work and earn money.
Yeah.
They've got a different political view. You know, they want to bring down a government. They want a communist state. Well, not all of them, but I mean, if you look at the miners, and I've just done a big program for BBC about this, when did they win? They didn't win. What they did win? No, they didn't win. I was at Saltley when all that went down with Arthur Scargill and all the flying pickets. So they won. We threw whole villages in mining areas have never recovered.
Yeah.
Never recovered. That's why we got a lot of issues, you know, mental issues came from chucking miners who were proud people out to work. We've been importing coal from Russia. Right?
Have you met Nick Lynch? You ever met him?
I've met all the guys actually. Yeah.
Has he spent much time? Like, he comes across as a really caring, honest, genuine.
Well, I used to travel down with all the guys from here every week. You know, because quite a few of the senior trade union, Unite, and the Seamen's Union, we used to travel down with them every week. Right, and they weren't militants in that respect, you know, because they've been on the shop floor and done it. But if you go back to, you know, some of the miners, I mean, they were communists. They said they were blatant communists.
Right.
You know, so they were trying to force their will onto a nation that didn't vote communist. So where do you draw the line? Everybody's got a right to say yes or no, but it's like walking around the streets with a truncheon. Well, we've got this in the Ukraine now. You know, you look at the whole of the balance of argument in Russia. They don't tell the people. They're fed what they're told to believe.
Same as everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah, they're fed to believe. You know, do I watch the news? No, I don't watch the news because I don't believe anything. I don't watch any of it.
Same here. It's something that we talk about pretty often. You know, one of the recommendations for your own well-being: don't watch the news.
No, but they won't give you good news, do they?
No.
And it's something when you saw those conversations you have, where it's there's never any good news, but it's almost like we just thought, that's just how it is. We'll just don't watch it.
No.
How many people? It makes me sad to think how many people sit down and they've had nothing going on in the day. They might be, it might be not great existence for them at the moment, and then they wait 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. I've got to sit and watch the news, and then all that happens then is it's like
a wave.
And then they go to sleep on that, and they're waking up in the morning, and it's wondering why there's a cycle of sadness.
Do you know what? I'll tell you a story. We never had any money as kids, right? So I hear all these, the thing about power now. Well, we had meters. We had a gas meter and an electric meter, and you put a bob in, right? Yeah. If you hadn't got a bob to put in, you didn't have any gas, or you didn't have any electricity. Yeah. You used to be able to get Belgian francs. Belgian francs were the same size as the old shilling, right? And you put Belgian francs in. And then at the end of the month, when the gasman or the electric man, he would say, Stella, you owe me 15 shillings because there's 15 French francs in it, or Belgian francs, right? And your mum would pay the 15 bob. He'd give you back the 15 Belgian francs, and so it would go on. That's how it went on every month, right? And, I always remember giving I always do this to everybody, and this is absolutely true. I want you to think about this. Okay. My mum was a warrior, which is where my daughter gets her problems from. I remember once coming in and she's fretting about, because the gas man's got, or the electricity man's got, she ain't got the money. I said to her, Mum, what are you doing? Well, you ain't got the money. Yeah, but it's going to come in an hour, I've got to go out and all. My mum was, as I said, was disabled. I've got to hide in the pantry. I said, no. You go to the door, you say, I ain't got the money. What's he going to do? He ain't got the money.
Yeah, yeah.
So she says, oh, it's all right for you, blah, 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 blah. I said, Mum, if worrying cured the problem, I'll be the best bloody worrier in the world. It don't.
Yeah, yeah.
Face it.
Yeah. Face it.
You know, if I've gone through life with that philosophy, and I've said to everybody, if worrying cures a problem, I'll be the best worrier in the world. Ain't gonna help you.
It's the opposite, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't. It drives you there. It's worse. Makes you worse. Thinking about, you know, when you watch the telly, they're all going on about AI at the moment. That's a big subject. You know, where do we go? Well, if you sit and think about it, it'd drive you nuts, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's the whole point you're saying about the news, right?
Yeah, drive you nuts.
Planting these little seeds in your head, and then you've always got something to worry about the future for. And
Yeah, it's
not
rich, isn't it? Bill Gates and what's his name, Elon Musk, telling us they're worried about bloody AI. That's rich, isn't it? That's like pot, kettle, pot.
It's a little bit like the whole thing of you're not allowed to drive your cars because they're really bad for the environment. We're just going to go on our jet and fly around the world.
Well, we're going to go to Mars.
Well, they've just sent an
sorry.
that's going to take 8 years to get to, and it's going to use it's too heavy, so they're going to use the atmosphere as a slingshot to send it to get so far, and then they use the atmosphere to set. 8 years it's going to take.
Wow.
Have
you watched it in the news?
It was on the telly.
Yeah, I saw that. It was on one of the kids' programs. I saw that. Yeah. I just think that, you know, particularly, I think the news has a lot to answer for in that if we're talking about the environment, we do go on about the environment. I watched a fabulous program on BBC Two last night about the world and what we're doing to it and all the dangers. But then we're selling more cars than we've ever sold before.
Yeah.
You know, we're taking lithium out of the ground.
You've seen the open mines and everything. It's awful, isn't it?
Yeah, and we're seeing all these fires on these e-scooters. Right? You're going, hang on a minute here. Woo.
Yeah.
You know, and then you're talking about Musk going to Mars. So, well, if we've got to cut our emissions, which is fantastic, then railways are your answer. Yeah, railways are your answer. And you can't fly people off to Antarctica to tell us how bad the environment is. You've just participated in the very problem that you're trying to cure.
Exactly.
I think when you're talking about trains, is it the Japanese? They seem to, people, you know, in media always brings it up as a champion for the train network, regarding their train network is supposed to be really good, really fast, really on time, and also the trains are really, really modern and all this. Have you looked at other nations, their train systems?
Right. Do you want the facts now?
Yeah, go for it.
Right. The safest railway in the world is the Japanese railway.
Right.
Second only to the UK.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
UK and Japan are the safest railways in the world.
That's really cool.
Who runs the most intensive service in the world? It ain't India. It's Great Britain. Because what everybody forgets is Japan and Britain are an island.
Yes. Yeah.
So therefore, to run the frequency of service that we run, we're running such frequent services that it creates problems that they don't get in Europe and they don't get in India or anywhere else because they've got such vast railways. France and Germany are enormous, right? Holland and Belgium, they get the services from Europe. So in real terms, Japan is very technical on its railway. I mean, I was chairman at County Hall for 10 years, which is owned by a Japanese company. So I used to spend a month every year in Japan, commuting between Tokyo and Osaka. So I was on the Shinkansen 3 times a week, and it is amazing.
Yeah.
But railways are only in Japan because of Britain.
Yeah.
Kawasaki, right? Japanese company?
Yes. Yeah.
No. Scottish.
Oh, really?
Right.
If you go in Japan, when you go to all the stations, you'll find that everything was built in Britain.
Right.
So Kawasaki was a Scottish man who went to Japan and built a company.
Oh, well, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So you're learning something.
That's history.
Yeah. So it's quite amazing that railways do that. You go to India, for instance, and I remember I was going from Bangalore to Madras to see somebody. You get to Bangalore Station, it's like crew.
Right.
It's
Just like a built.
got crew everywhere. All the steel was made in crew.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, by the time I went to India, all the trains were made in Russia, but all the infrastructure made in Britain.
Right.
But it's surreal then, maybe.
Oh, it's weird.
It's like
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's weird.
Yeah.
You know, when you walk in and think, bloody crew station.
Yeah.
And of course, nobody speaks any English.
Yeah.
But, you know, and the thing, I'll tell you one thing about Japan particularly, which is brilliant. Everywhere has a barcode.
Right.
So everywhere you go, you put your phone against it, it gives it you in English.
Right.
So when the train pulls in, you just put it against the door, it tells you exactly where you're going.
All right.
That's really
Oh no, it's so high tech, it's unbelievable. So you go in, because it's all in Japanese.
Yeah.
So you touch on the screens, you touch, you know, there's a code.
Yeah.
You touch it and it gives you all in English.
Right.
And it gives you the fare. So you go to buy your ticket,
Yeah.
and again you press it on, it gives you all in English.
All right. That's brilliant.
So that they're a bit. How far ahead do you think of here, technology wise, or?
Oh, quite a different mentality.
Yeah.
But we don't have so many visitors as they have, and our language is not as different as theirs is to ours. I mean, theirs is such a different language. You can't even go, you know, picture-wise the way through it because they ain't got a clue what you're talking about.
So,
but the train, let me tell you something. There's a line on the platform, and you have to stand opposite the line. And the coach comes in and it stops bang on the line. Never misses.
Right.
Bang on the line.
Yeah.
And when they say it leaves at 4:48 and 30 seconds, it leaves at 4:38 and 30 seconds.
Yeah. Right.
There's no, and if the platform's full, they've got pushers.
Right.
oh yeah, of course. Have you seen the videos before?
No.
Oh, they've got pushers.
Yeah.
Not on the Shinkansens, but on the local trains, got pushers.
Yeah.
They push them on.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Push them on?
Yeah.
You've got that many people.
Because the trains leave on time.
Yeah. Right.
So 2-3 people get the back of them, push them on, and they're all used to it. So they all get on, the door's shut, and away they go. And then they sort themselves out.
Often it looks like sardines. They're all packed in because they're trying to push everybody in, and then everyone's like against the door and the window.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, at Tokyo Station, there's 3 gauges. So the Shinkansen is 4 foot 8.5, or the equivalent. Then you've got 3 foot gauge and 2 foot 6 gauge, or meter gauge.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. But it's clockwork.
Right.
And they all wear white gloves.
Yeah.
All the staff wear white gloves. And the drivers, even the only people in the cab, acknowledge all the signals by putting their hand up.
Right.
To prove that they've acknowledged it, because it's all on video. It's all filmed and all watched on a central computer.
Right.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Do you think, have you know, with regards to the UK, like England, the rail network here, do you have sort of a vision, you know, how it could, because you mentioned about how good it could be for the environmentally, and obviously it's something that ideally we need for the public, certainly going forward. Yeah. So how would we go about making it better?
Well, it's not the staff. No. Let's get that straight away. It's not the staff. I think we've pretty well now at the end of the British Rail staff that worked in a certain way that wasn't good. Yeah. I think that we've nearly for certain got very few of them left. So everybody now has understood, you know, the customer must come first. Pity the government doesn't understand that. Politicians have got to understand that the railway is a public carrier, and the public must come first. Yeah. So it's all right talking about signalling and all that, you know, let's streamline and let's go digital signalling. No. Let's look after the customers first. Let's look after the people we need to travel on those trains, and that will take a different mindset.
How do you get politicians to engage in that kind of mindset, though? That's the thing.
You can't, because they change every 5 years. So I mean, you know, when I started on HS2, I remember, because that was under a Labour government, working with Lord Adonis, and I remember his own party going to a meeting at Euston, And his own party says, you'll never build HS2 because we will stop you. Well, why? Because you can't come before education and hospitals. You go, but if we build a transport system that works, it will create work and it'll create less problems. And it'll be good for, for health reasons. People be able to get around. But it means that you've got to have subsidies. And you can't run a railway like a road. Just because the government can't see the costs and it makes all the money off the petrol. So, I mean, you've got to understand the tax on petrol is horrendous. That's what the government needs, and I understand that. But you can't have your cake and eat it. You can't say we don't want anybody to use petrol, but we need all the money off the petrol for the social infrastructure. You've got to say, you can't square this circle. At some point, it costs this. That's what it costs. I mean, I find that this whole thing with HS2 at the minute amazing. Now, we build every year a big railway for Chester Cathedral. We started 3 years ago, and a sheet of 9mm ply was 12.5 quid. Sheet of 9mm ply now is 92 quid.
92 quid.
92 quid.
Wow. In 3 years.
Yeah, because of Russians. Because you can't get wood from Russia anymore.
Right.
So all the cheap wood is gone. Can't get it. It's all. So everybody now knows if you want it, that it is. I could get a plumber out to the house. It'd come 100 quid. Now he wants 500 quid. Now, so you look at HS2, which is the best part of, call it 80 billion quid. So if my price has gone up 300%, can you imagine what their price is like? So that, and the government acts surprised. Everybody knows there's a financial crisis, and then goes, well, we'll have to delay this. But you should have thought of this 10 years ago, because, you're always going to, nothing gets cheaper. It always gets more expensive.
It just reminds me, there was a guy, when you think about the trains, there was a guy one day. So I said earlier, I'm a big believer in the right person, the right place, the right time. When you said about not being able to come last time. And one of the examples of that, there was this guy, I forgot his name, but he had a dog, he had a guide dog called Finn. And I was doing the drop-in on a Friday here. And he was sort of walking past, and I opened the door, I invited him in. So he came in, and I gave him a coffee, and he was waiting for his train, and he was partially sighted. And he had this guide dog called Finn. And his story was amazing. Do you remember me telling you about him? He looked just like Ed Sheeran. Sheeran.
I know the guy.
He looked just like him. He had glasses on.
I know the guy.
Oh, you know him?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, he was telling me that he's been travelling. Last year he did 21,000 miles on the trains around the world.
Yeah, I know him really well. I see him at railway shows, and he always brings his dog to meet me.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
No, really well.
He was going past, and I invited him in. And when, this was a while ago now. And when I came into this room, when we had the opportunity, you sort of go, right, what do we need? And one of the things that we needed was a speaker, like a Bluetooth speaker. You visualise it in your head, you think, that's what we need. And at the time, we have no money, so it's right. When we get the speaker, we get the speaker, right? Anyway, he walked in this day, and it was just after Christmas time. And we sat down, and then he said, he went in his bag, and he said, oh, would you like this for your drop-in space? And he put it on the table in between us. And I'm getting emotional because it's a Bluetooth speaker. He just got in his bag, pulled out a Bluetooth speaker in a box, and then put it on the table so that we have that to use. I use it every Friday.
Yeah.
That was one of those moments when it's just at the right moment, the right time. It's so cool that you know him.
Oh yeah. Well, listen, it's a small. It's only a small country, so I know. I do know so many.
So he's
at the shows. Yeah, he's massive. Yeah, him and his dog.
Well, what a cool story! And he said
Finn's his second dog.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
So he said he was writing a book about his travels. He'd already done one before. He was an artist as well, I think.
I can't remember. He's passed his side. I know it's exactly the same guy.
Yeah, really interesting guy, isn't it? What do you think he looks like Ed Sheeran?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Or Ed Sheeran.
He doesn't look partially sighted, does he?
No.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think he was partially sighted.
No, not at all. So I wanted to ask you about how you've done all this. For anybody who doesn't know, you've had big hit records, you've had really successful businesses, TV, awards, all different things. But what we ask everybody, and I'm really interested in, what's actual success to you? Now, you at this age, now in your life, what do you count as success?
That's easy. Still getting, making a project that you believe in work. So 4 years ago, just before COVID, so that's 5 years ago actually, we were approached by Chester Cathedral, who were running short of funds, desperate for funds. So they wanted to put a model railway in the cathedral. So they came to me and asked, would we do it? Like a fool, I said yes. And we built this, and we got locked down, so we had to wait 12 months. And in that 12 months, I thought about the cathedral's problem and how much money they needed, which was quite staggering. I looked at all the model railway shows and the way it was going, realised that after COVID, money would be tight and people would be reluctant to come out. So I came up with a concept for the layout in Chester, which we call making tracks.
Yeah.
And that was the whole theme of it, making tracks.
Yeah.
And first year it was phenomenal. I mean, we thought it was phenomenal. Yeah. And we just looked at the audience and thought, right, now we know. And last year was unbelievable. So last year we raised well in excess of £200,000. We had like 40,000 visitors. Yeah. We're there for the whole school holidays. Kids come and play with the train set. It's 54 feet long by 12 feet wide, so it's 125 feet. And we're there every morning from 9 till 5:30. Yeah. And the whole of the model railway industry has changed. Yeah. Because where other people sort of don't come near, don't touch stuff, we do the opposite. Right. We give the kids the tablets and say, go on, drive that Pendolino. Yeah. And
kids love that, don't they?
Exactly. Yeah. And their mums come and their grandmums and their granddads, and they sit and do the crossword or whatever they do. The kids, the church has seen a completely different audience, because the cathedral's audience was mainly widowed women over 65. Very few children, very few ethnic minorities. Now it's the opposite. We've completely changed it. I mean, the dean was amazed how many different sorts of people we get, particularly the children. And, they're probably never going to, they only go in the cathedral when there's, but they've gone in. There's no resistance. Where there was always this belief that there was a resistance. Well, I don't believe there's a resistance. It's a wonderful building. And we have, or they have, I am amazed at what they do when we're in there, but I mean, they still have prayers at 11 o'clock. We've got, 300 kids running around playing trains. They're all trying to, but the dean says that we must not be, we mustn't worry about them. Yeah. And they tell the parishioners, no, these guys.
That's brilliant.
Refreshing, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
And also, what I love is, I'm a big believer in communities. That's a very community thing.
Oh no, that's what it is. It's
connecting all these people in one place.
We have, and we particularly have some young people with mental issues. I love them. We have one kid called Johnny, and I hope he's watching this. He's probably gone back to school today. He's brilliant. He knows more about the railways than I have forgotten. He's unbelievable. And so I said to he comes with his mum and his dad or his grandma. And I said, what's he like at school? She hates it. Yeah. So where's all this knowledge come from then? He said, he sits on the internet all night. He wants to do, he'll tell you the weight, the speed. He knows what engines I own, when I bought them. It's unbelievable. Yeah. But he has this funny thing. You don't know the cathedral. The cathedral is like a cross. You've got the main nave and you've got the two sides. He comes in the top and he'll come on the top and he'll shout, Pete Waterman, Johnny's in the building! No matter what's going on. And everybody knows that Johnny's in the building. And it's like, it's fantastic. But it's seeing those kids' faces, that makes it all worthwhile. And the adults, I love the stories of old railwaymen who come over and tell you got something wrong, and you just point out there's a modern railway, it's changed. It's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
So
That's on from July the 24th to September the 3rd this year. And this year it's bigger and better than ever. I mean, this year's layout is phenomenal.
so it seems like that's something out of everything. That's something you're really, really proud of. That's coming across a lot.
Well, only that it is a community.
Yeah.
You know, we've got a bunch of retired people together to build this.
Yeah.
You know, thinking before COVID, if you'd have said to me I'd have got 12 or 13 volunteers 2 days a week to build this for the cathedral, wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
But we've built up to 20 members now. If you'd have told me 45,000 people have come through the door, it's unheard of.
Yeah.
So you say, well, the cathedral's doing its thing. We're bringing people into the hobby, and they're getting a lot of pleasure out of it. You know, I don't know. It's just it gives you a purpose to get up in the morning, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's a purpose. Is that what that was featured in the Granada reports? It's a proper. It's like so intricate, and it's the names, and it looks so real.
Yeah.
You know, it looks.
Well, that's what we try and do.
Yeah, it looks absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. So the idea of mine was to build a railway like you walk out this platform today.
Yeah.
See exactly like that, not with windmills and coal mines and warehouses, but exactly like today.
Yeah.
So you put the Avanti trains on that you see outside here and the middle,
And then boss in the lounge waving.
yeah, and the kids can play with it.
Yeah.
So they see it every day.
Yeah.
And of course they want the Flying Scotsman, of course they do.
Yeah.
And they want Tornado, of course they do.
Yeah.
But
there's something about it, isn't it? You know, like having there's something about seeing something real and seeing the miniature version.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah,
It's great fun. It's great fun.
Yeah, it really is. It's I remember going
Fantastic.
thinking back to even because my dad was a big train enthusiast. I used to have model trains.
Yeah.
But thinking about the little thing, remember Gulliver's Travels?
Yeah.
So it was the whole thing of
Yeah.
you know, big and then little tiny things. And
Well, you know, just I mean, Disney World, it's a small world. I mean, that's huge. You know. Yeah.
Oh, it had a really creepy song though. On the it was used to go through this tunnel, didn't you, with the water and the boat. But it was just that. It was like the theme tune for it, wasn't it?
It's a small world.
Yeah.
It's a small world.
It's like something off a B horror movie.
Well, yeah.
Have you got you would question off the off here as well? There was,
yeah. Just what was school like for you?
I hated it. Well, no, I didn't. No, that's not true. I didn't hate it. I went, but I didn't like learning.
Yeah.
So
I feel your pain, Pete.
Yeah. There were 61 kids in my class. How the hell do you teach 61 kids? Well, no, absolutely. Listen, I'll tell you this is true. Honestly, this is a funny story, but it's not. It's absolutely true. The truant officer used to come round your house if you went too often, because he thought your dad was beating you up. Serious, because he didn't want. Listen, if you didn't turn up, the teacher loved it. He didn't put you down as missing. Yeah, right. He thought, bloody hell, Waterman's not turned up there. Oh, thank Christ for that. That's one more disruption I don't have to deal with. You know.
That's brilliant.
But I mean, as I said earlier, I get fascinated by things.
Yeah.
So the world fascinated me, so I wanted to know, you know.
Yeah. It
was the world of Dan Dare and the comic characters, you know. Yeah. So I wanted to know, would we ever go? I remember laying in bed in about 1955 thinking, will I still be alive in 2000? Because 2000 seemed so long.
Exactly.
You know,
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Anybody that was 30 was old.
Exactly.
You know, I remember going to work in 62 and I thought everybody in Wolverhampton that works at the railway was ancient. Yeah. They were probably 30. But when you're 14, everything's like...
Exactly.
But do you not think it's funny how someone was saying to me that you don't feel... You feel yourself. You don't really feel. You don't look at yourself as the age that you are.
Oh no.
No.
It's like Zach said before. So for anybody watching now, we have a cameraman, and his name's Zach, and he's my son, and he's homeschooled. So every week, then he's cameraman. And he said to me this morning, he said, I'm going to sit for an hour and a half and just watch three old men talking.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's how you learn. That's what you learn from
Careful,
life,
Zach.
isn't it?
Listen, that's the
what you learn.
problem we've got. I mean, you know, don't get me wrong. But the way I went to school, you can't do that anymore. You'd never do what I did in the 50s and 60s, in the 70s and 80s, because now you're in a different world.
Yeah.
So I always say to kids, schooling is really, really important. Pay attention, take it on, learn, because you can't do what we did. It's a different world now.
Yeah.
But I've learned more from listening to people than I have from actually anything else.
Yes.
And I guess when you're at school, you're listening to people. When you go to university, you're actually listening to people. But I know that when we had the railway business in Crewe, I brought back the guys that had retired as buddies. You know, they came back 2 and 3 days a week to teach the apprentices. Their knowledge was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because it was second nature.
Yeah.
They knew every problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when it snowed, they know exactly what the problem was going to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, they would come in the morning, they'd preempt Network Rail ringing us and telling us what the problem was.
Yeah.
They go, we need to do this today because snow's down and they'll have the problem on the railway.
Yeah.
It's experience.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah.
it. Experience, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we do talk a load of rubbish most of the time, but I mean, occasionally, yeah.
Like writing songs, innit? You could write. You'll have. As a songwriter, you probably write about 100 songs, and you might get 10 good songs out of it. But you got to get them bad songs out of your system before. You know what I mean?
Well, you see, I don't work like that. Never worked like that.
No.
I learned very early, don't write a song unless you got a hit.
Yeah.
So to me, it was like, guys walking in my office, I've got 100 songs, now you 8.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be in my office if you had one song, because you'd have gone to a publisher and got 30 grand for it.
Yeah.
So you've come here, I know you ain't got a hit song.
Yeah. So what makes a hit song then, people? What makes a hit song?
Being focused. You've got to be deadly focused. I mean, if you listen to all the hits, take Old Town Road, for instance. There's a guy that's heard that song as a cowboy song or as a country and western song and gone, I like this.
Yeah.
And if I put a rap to it, it'll cross 2 genres and it'll work.
It did work, didn't it?
Yeah. So he's literally heard that song, which is why people sing oldies, because they know it does certain things. So if you're a songwriter, you've got to look at your market and look at what works in your market and then work out how you've got to fit in. So we had signed Jason Donovan, and we knew he had the potential.
Yeah.
And we recorded a track that we'd done for Rick Astley, which he struggled with, but we had a hit with it, but it wasn't a big track. And I knew the song was the weak point. It wasn't Jason, because I knew Jason had got 5 million viewers every day of the week.
Yeah.
So it's the song. And I remember sitting down and saying to Mike, right, we're going to have a song that kids associate with from the TV series. And I remember, and I said, we need a song like Jimmy Ruffin, What Becomes of the Broken Hearted. That's what we need. Yeah, that's what we need. What becomes of. So they went, yeah, right. And I remember all songs have to start. And it's the first 8 bars that are the most important 8 bars.
Yeah.
Because you go into a radio show, they put it on all the, they listen to it now. And then it shows how old I am, put it on the stylus. But if you ain't caught the programmer's attention in 8 seconds, you've lost it. So I remember going, ding-a-ding-a-ding-a, and the title was Too Many Broken Hearts. And it follows exactly what becomes of the broken hearted.
Yeah.
There's too many broken hearts in the world. I won't give up that fight for you.
Yeah.
And then I always went and I thought, yeah, this is a hit. And then he was still in Australia filming Neighbours. And it's like you just say, things come together. I remember they sent the video, because you've got to remember in those days, there was no electronic media.
No, no.
So you had to ship things, and they sent you the film.
Yeah,
You had to have the film processed.
Yeah.
Then they sent you a VHS copy or a Betamax copy.
Yeah.
I remember I remember my managing director rang me and said, "The Jason videos will be here. It's on a bike now. It's on the way over for the labs because it's just been processed." I remember watching that video, right? And up he comes over the hill on a horse with his guitar. I went, "Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That'll do me. That's number one."
Yeah.
Right? And it was one of those records that we honestly didn't know at the time where it would be. And we were, we used to have what we call a midweek chart. So it was so you could order the records for the weekend, because Top of the Pops then was still the biggest show.
Yeah, yeah.
So on a Wednesday, you get a midweek of where they thought you would be on the weekend.
Yeah.
So that the shops would order your records. And I went to a friend in Goose Street, funny enough, to listen. We always listened to Alan Freeman. I never wanted to know the charts before they come out.
Yeah, yeah.
Always wanted to hear it live.
Yeah.
So we were down there, and I was with my general manager. They were friends we grew up with in Coventry. And on comes Alan Freeman, And we thought we'd be about 10, 9, 8, 12, 14, somewhere around there. So we got up to 10, still no Jason Donovan. To 8, still no Jason Donovan. Got up to 7, still no Jason Donovan. And so Tilly, that's my general manager, I said, "Oh, we must be outside of 40. So, check the record sales. I thought, "How come here out of 40? We're up to 3. And I literally, I was speechless, because I thought, Christ, we've got this wrong. And I remember I went to switch the radio off. It was my mate's house, but I said, "Can we have a dinner party?" Well, let's go. And then Alan Freeman said, "And this week we've got a new number 1. Ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding." And seriously, Tilly and I, we'd just scored in the FA Cup.
Yeah,
I mean, we were jumping up and down and hugging each other.
Yeah.
And we'd had like 10 number 1s by this point.
Yeah, yeah.
But this was like so different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that the most satisfying hit that you've had?
No. I mean, I've had too many. I can't. I mean, it changes on a regular basis.
Yeah, of course.
But that's the one moment.
Time, yeah.
That was that moment where you write a song for a specific purpose.
Yeah.
Then the video comes, and then you go, wow.
Yeah.
And I remember because that was just after Christmas, and then in January every year we go to Midem, which is a music festival in the south of France. I remember all the licensees seeing the video. I mean, the record was massive all over the world.
Mate, please.
One's here.
Okay, we're not tied yet. We're not finished. Okay, dude. He's got it. It's all right. He's still learning.
All right.
This way. So sorry. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah. So, and sometimes it's records do take you by surprise. Sometimes they don't, but never going to give you up. I'd love to tell you right now, we knew it was a number 1. We wrote it when we didn't. We sat on it for 18 months.
18 months.
We sat in the vaults. I came back Christmas that year to Nuclear Willows, where I lived at the time, Goulburn. And my girlfriend said to me, in fact, no, we still lived in Nuclear Willows at that point. What are you doing with Rick? Because she'd found Rick. And I went, I can't quite make the record work. That was Christmas Day. And something bothers you when somebody says it. So I thought, So Boxing Day, I was bored. And I got in my car and I rang 2 of the lads, young lads from the studio. I said, "What are you doing?" "No, we're doing nothing." "Come on, come to the studio. I'll be there about midday. Get a tape out of the library and we'll have some fun mixing the track." These are 2 very junior engineers. And when I got there, they got Rick Astley, "Never Gonna Give You Up Out." And we did the most appalling version you've ever heard of Never Gonna Give You Life in your life.
Yeah.
I mean, because none of us were musicians. I mean, there was no sampling like there is today.
Yeah.
And I remember Mike and Matt came back after the holiday, but I liked it. I knew that there was something about it. You know what I mean? And Matt came back, and I played it Matt, and Matt went, "Oh no, I know what you're trying to do." He literally got on the bass, and of course, the minute he played it, we just went, "That's exactly what we're trying to do."
Yeah.
And we mixed it, and that would be no later than middle January.
Yeah.
And that sat there in the vault, and I took on a disco promotion guy, and I'm going to say June, maybe late May. And one day, Mike Stock and I are in the toilets. We're downstairs. We come out and we hear this track booming down the stairs. And I said to Mike, "What's that?" And he went, "Don't know." He said, "But that's a hit." I went, "It's a smash." Walked up with his name was H. He said, "What's this?" He says, "Rick Astley." "What?" "It's Rick Astley." "Better get this over to RCA quick."
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And I remember it was the bank holiday weekend, August bank holiday weekend. It was one of the bank holiday weekends. And it wasn't out. And I was driving back up to Newton Willows. And I put Capital Radio on, which is obviously London. On comes Rick Astley. Now, I haven't edited this record. I haven't physically made it.
No.
So there's not a 7-inch version.
Yeah.
And the Capital are playing it. And the guy's raving about it. I'm thinking, hang on, where's this track come from?
Yeah.
But we put it out on a disco mixtape.
Yeah.
We put 40 seconds on there. They had an engineer edit it into a single.
Right.
When I got back to work I remember driving down Monday afternoon, because as I say, it was a bank holiday weekend, driving back to London on the Monday night, it was number one on Capital.
Wow.
I get into the office and there's all over it loose. You've got the record company on the phone. "How did they get this record?" I said, "I haven't got it. You've sent it out on the disco mixtape." And we literally had to get in the studio quick and edit it round and get it over to Capital as a proper record and get a release date. So, I mean, I believed in Rick Astley. That's why I signed him. But
how did you come up with Rick Astley though? I hear so many stories about it.
I went to see.
Discover him?
The truth is, I went. A mate of mine who's an agent up here, who I really liked.
Yeah.
I owed him a favour, and he invited me to a gig at Monks' Social Club in Warrington.
I played there.
Right.
In Monks', yeah.
Yeah. So I went there on a Sunday night. I had the worst flu, I think, even worse than COVID. I promised the guy I'd listen to his 3 acts, but at that point I had to go home.
Yeah.
And they came on, they were called FBI, and I went, "I'll take the singer, but I don't want the band. But I'll take the singer, I'll put him on a youth opportunity training course."
Right. Monks.
Yeah.
That's unreal.
And he didn't take the job until 6 weeks later, the agent rang me and said, he'll take the job. Right. So he lived with me in London, and he got, I think it was 20 quid a week from the government, and I paid him 20 quid.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
Right.
So it must be the best ever. It must have been the most successful youth opportunity training program ever.
Yeah. I mean, that voice in him, that's what I...
That was the problem, you know. The problem was his voice, because he's a baritone. Right. He's not a tenor.
Right.
So the problem that Matt and Mike had with him is that they couldn't get their head round his range.
Right.
And so what we did was, Lamont Dozier taught me a trick.
Yeah.
And that was to pitch it.
Yeah.
So we put it above his range.
Right. Which
made him sing it the way he did.
Right.
And I learned that from Lamont, who Levi Stubbs in the Four Tops.
Yeah.
Always was exactly the same.
Right.
He was lazy and Rick was lazy, so he always... Lamont Dozier told me that Levi Stubbs complained every time he sang a hit. Yeah. Because he said it was too high for him. Can you imagine here and reach out over there now in a different key?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so hard that, I mean, them kind of songs.
It's a good key though, that one. Reach out. Yeah. It's a good key, because when I used to, I used to drop it down. It was that bit where it was the chorus bit.
Yeah.
You know, it's really belting out.
Yeah, but that's what they wanted. Yeah, so they worked that out. You know, so when you're working with people like that have had all these monster hits, again, it's like we're talking 3 old blokes talking, but the guy says, "Oh, yeah, we had that problem with Levi Stubbs. You know, he would want everything taken down. So what we do, we deliberately put it 2 keys too high. Yeah. So we take it down 1 key. It was still higher than his range."
Yeah, yeah.
I love the little story about Stevie Wonder. I've probably said this to you before. So I saw this documentary, and the producer was saying that when they did Living for the City, which is an iconic track, he had Stevie Wonder. He's got that beautiful voice, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Like velvet. And then he said he wanted the angry bit. So when you get to the end bit of Living for the City, he starts growling.
Yeah.
And the producer said, I kept on making him do it again and again and again and again. And he ended up getting really angry. His voice was getting dry. So that's how you get that at the end of the track.
I worked with Stevie Wonder with Musical Youth. And
Musical Youth.
yeah, well, I did Musical Youth. And we met Stevie in Wonderland. Of course, being blind, he has no idea what time of the day it is.
Yeah.
So very young, very difficult to work with 12 and 13-year-old children from Birmingham who were waiting in the studio for Stevie Wonder to turn up. You're there at 5, he turns up at midnight. And the kids have got to be in bed.
Yeah.
You know, because we were under strict rules from the Birmingham Education Authority.
Yeah.
But he was brilliant, Stevie Wonder. I mean, he was. The trouble with Stevie Wonder, he's so brilliant.
Yeah.
You just can't work like him because he's such a genius.
Yeah.
You know, I hear people sing Stevie Wonder songs. You can't.
I always say that, you know, there's a few singers that I always say, right, never try to do Stevie, you know, Whitney, you know, them, you know,
No, they're unique.
You know, it's just the voices are it's just unreal.
So Stevie wanted to write a song for Musical Youth. So he sat us down and he got on the piano and sang this amazing song. I said, it's fantastic. He just fell about laughing. And then turned it into the Autumn Leaves. It was the bloody Autumn Leaves.
Yeah.
He just made up the lyrics as it gone along.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Is he one of your out of work? It's funny you mentioned Stevie Wonder because I was thinking about the people that you've worked with just briefly who stand out as in music.
McCartney, Lennon, Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye.
Marvin Gaye?
Yeah, I mean, outstanding.
Marvin Gaye?
Yeah, I mean, outstanding. Outstanding. I worked with Donna Summer.
With Marvin Gaye?
I just was in the studio with him in those days.
Was he?
The most amazing concert I ever saw, I've ever seen. Saw the Beatles in '62. That was amazing because it changed my life, but it wasn't as amazing as a concert.
How did it change your life?
Well, because I heard, you know, they walked on stage and went, 1, 2, 3, G was just, that was me finished. Like, okay, got it. I'm in. What I want to do? I want it. I see, you know, everybody's got goosebumps. This is what I want to do.
Right. So it must have been. So when did you end up meeting with and working with Paul McCartney?
Later, when I went to work, when I came back from Philadelphia, I went to work in '74 for Magnet Records, and they sent me to Apple to learn to be an engineer. And so I worked with Malcolm Davis, who was the Beatles engineer from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And Malcolm ended up working for me and running my studios.
Fantastic.
But the best concert was Marvin Gaye I went to see. Unbelievable.
What a singer.
I sat with Lamont Dozier, Diana Ross, and Berry Gordy. How about that?
I'm jealous. I can't see man, you know, Diana Ross, you know. I used to have a big photo of Diana Ross because I grew up, I was a kid, I'm like 63 this year, but I grew up on the Jackson 5.
Yeah. Well, the night before we'd gone to the Jackson 5 gig.
Oh, no joking.
Well, I was at the Motown where Michael Jackson does his moonwalk.
Oh, was you at that?
I was in the audience, yeah.
You're joking?
No.
I'm going to shake your hand.
That's amazing.
Oh,
well, Lamont was one of my best friends.
man.
So, you know,
That's unreal.
whenever I was in California, I always want to stay with, or...
I watched that on TV, that thing.
That's one of those, that is an iconic moment.
Oh,
The quality.
yeah. But I've got to tell you, I don't think anybody realised until the minute he started that moonwalk, everybody in the audience knew they were watching something different.
Yeah.
Everybody. I mean, you could see everybody shiver. I mean, you know, these guys had seen everything. Don Ross had seen everything.
Yeah.
You know, Lamont had seen everything. Very good. They'd seen it all before.
Yeah.
Smokey Robinson, they were all there. And suddenly he did that, and you could gasp. The gasp in the audience was phenomenal.
Did you
That's
ever
unreal.
meet Jackie Wilson?
No.
Because when you say about Michael Jackson, I was saying to you last night, Michael Jackson at one point he got up and he took for one of his awards, and he said how much he wanted to pay his respect to Jackie Wilson.
Well,
He was one of his.
well, Higher and Higher was written by Berry Gordy.
Right.
He's co-writer.
Jackie Wilson did a lot of the dance moves. He was amazing.
But Higher and Higher is the classic Jackie Wilson track.
Yeah.
Your love.
There's one.
Yeah.
What about? I can never remember the name of it, but Lonely. Was it Lonely Heart or something like that? That Jackie Wilson did. Oh, it's an amazing song.
The greatest Jackie Wilson song is Nothing But Blue Skies. There'll be nothing but blue skies for me tomorrow.
So he's one of the few people that you didn't work with all when you were over there.
No, he was dead by the time.
He
died quite early.
Yeah.
So what years were you over in the States then when we were?
68 to 73, 74.
Really good years.
And then obviously 83, I was back in, obviously we had number one in America with Musical Youth. So we recorded a Musical Youth album in America. So I was there for 18 months. And I worked at Kenny Rogers' Lion Share. And I worked, and then the next studio was Michael and Quincy Jones. So there were two studios. So we saw Michael every day of the week.
Unbelievable.
So we went to his ranch with the kids. Yeah, they weren't interested. All they wanted me was Mr. T.
Yeah.
That's all they wanted me, Mr. T. He came over every day, Mr. T.
I'm going to have to play my version. I've rewritten the version of Billie Jean. I've put my own lyrics to it.
Right, I love your version of Billie Jean.
Right.
And I ask every time you're anywhere, I ask you to play it.
I've got my version of Billie Jean, you know what I mean? It's a different version.
It's a really cool.
I knew Rod Templeton really well.
Rod Templeton, what a.
Well, I knew Rod really well. He's from Lancashire.
From Lancashire, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I knew him when he was in Johnny Wilder and his Heatwave.
Heatwave, what a.
Well, they were originally Johnny Wilder.
Right.
Heatwave when I worked with them. They were the sort of soul band.
Heatwave,
there was
fantastic.
Herbie Goins, was it Herbie Goins? There was.
There's two brothers, one is Johnny, and there's two brothers there. I can't remember it.
Yeah, but that period, you had the soul bands. So you had Gino Washington.
Yeah.
You had Herbie Goins, Johnny Wilder, and Heatwave, and there was one more. And I'll tell you the other big guy. You had the Graham Bond organisation. And you had
oh yeah. Yeah. I know.
What's his name?
I can't think of it. I can't remember the name, but I know the song you're talking about. Yeah.
Who I thought I worked with. I can't think of the funny name for him. He was in Somerset. Georgie Fame.
Georgie Fame.
I think Georgie Fame was probably the greatest British vocalist ever.
Yeah.
Ever. And we did a record.
He's the fellow, but he also had a hat on, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
But he had like
he
had soul bands before anybody had soul bands.
Yeah.
So I, used to go and see him in the clubs, and he was amazing. And he had a great band, but he could pull it off. And he was the Rick Astley of the 1970s.
Yeah. Did you ever meet Nile Rodgers?
Oh, I've worked with Niles.
Have you?
I remixed Chic. I've mixed quite a few Chic tracks.
Oh, I tell you, that's just unreal. And one band from people. A lot of people don't know this band from America. Remember the Brothers Johnson?
Of course.
We did Stump.
Yeah.
George and Lewis Johnson.
Well, we pinched the title, and we did it with a Chic track.
Yeah.
Stomp for steps. Stomp.
Oh right.
Everybody clap your hands. Stomp.
I
Clap
used to love
your
the
hands.
Brothers Johnson. I used to love
Strawberry Letter.
No, Strawberry Letter 23.
Yeah.
What a track that is. Not a lot of people know that.
Yeah, it's on INN.
Song.
INN, yeah.
It's a great song, Strawberry Letter 23.
Yeah.
It says.
Have we finished, boss?
The Brothers Johnson from America, Lewis and George Johnson.
Yeah.
George is, because I'm a left-handed guitar player. Yeah. George is a left-handed guitar player, and Lewis is the bass player. He's started passed away now. But Lewis Johnson and Bernard Edwards, Bernard Chic, bass playing.
Great.
Stanley Clark is up there like, but for me, Lewis Johnson, he played on Off the Wall. I think he played on Solo as well.
Muscat the Loose, sorry.
Yeah.
Now you've.
Please come along. You don't have to be musical if you don't want to. As in, you can bring along your guitar if you want to play. But we just want people to turn up and watch these amazing, talented performers that we've got lined up to play. And also, if you want to support us we're doing a charity auction on that night as well, so it'd be great to see you there. Also with this, if you want to get in touch, you want to support what we're doing in any way about reaching out and having those conversations that we need to, please get in touch. If you want to sit in the hot seat that Pete's sitting in right now, then please get in touch. Anything you want to talk about, ask about, we're here to listen. And I think it brings us to the last, usually what we do now, Pete, is Junior plays us out usually with our themes tune.
Yeah.
But just before that, have you got, we really enjoyed having you here, right? Thank you so much, how it came about, Laura, when we first did the room, and she said, "Oh, how about Pete Waterman?" Because I know people are like, "Yeah, that'd be amazing." So really, 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 really glad to have you here. What would you say, if I know it's on the spot, but have you got something that you would, if a younger version of you or somebody who's sitting there now, maybe young lad, young girl, and they're unsure what to do in their life, maybe they're worried about things, have you got something that you maybe would want to say to them? A bit of advice.
Believe in yourself.
Yeah, well, yes.
Just don't take criticism.
Yeah.
Listen, you ain't gonna listen. The bottom line is we can't all make it.
Yeah.
But as long as you're happy doing what you're doing, doesn't matter. Yeah. I would have been happy if I'd just been able to do what I do and I kept myself happy. Yeah. Right? Life was exceptionally good to me. But it's been exceptionally tough.
You've done it yourself, haven't you? It's not been handed to you. You've done it yourself.
No, and I wouldn't want it handed to me. But I say to everybody, just believe in yourself. But don't kid yourself. Don't kid yourself.
No.
Just be realistic about it. I mean, I always thought. I talked to the Beatles about this. And Jenny Marsden, bless his heart. When we earned 40 quid a week, we thought we were millionaires.
Exactly.
We were earning 9 and 10 quid on the railway, and suddenly we're getting paid 40 quid a week for writing and singing songs. It's like, whoa, this is for us.
Yeah.
But now people want to be millionaires. Well, guys, as long as you can pay your rent, as long as you've got something to eat and you've got your health, you don't need anything else.
Exactly.
You can't take it with you.
That's very, very true. I think there's something that's really, really important that stands out to us is what you were just saying about how you've had this attitude to life, and I think that it's easy sometimes for a lot of people when you have bad things come, it knocks you over, because it's almost like we're expected to not have those bad things. But you have to have the bad to have the good.
Oh, listen, I know I could never get a job. I fell out of love with the record industry. I signed a guy called Chris Rea.
Chris Rea?
Yeah. So I fell out
for Christmas.
I fell out with the record company over it, and I just thought I don't want to do this anymore. So I went and became a coal miner. Yeah. And it was like.
Hang on a minute, Pete. Let's stop there, right? So, no, just wait a minute there, right? So you signed Chris Rea.
Yeah.
Right? You fell out with the record machine, and then you went to become a coal miner.
Yeah, because I needed to get a dose of reality.
Right.
I needed to get, I was being paid more money than I ever thought I could earn.
Yeah.
I'd go out for fabulous lunches, fabulous dinners, and the company paid for it.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like, I've lost touch with reality.
Right.
I need to get back to, going and doing a day's work.
Yeah.
And I got up to about 18 stone, and I got back to 11 stone. And, one day, I got gangrene in my foot. And I thought, one day I worked and thought, hang on here, what am I doing here? I've had too much bloody reality now.
It's like a story in itself, isn't it?
But it was like, okay, I've had enough now.
Right.
So I applied to record companies for a job.
Yeah.
Never, ever, ever got accepted.
Right.
I did 2 or 3 interviews.
Pete Waterman applied for.
And I'd had massive hits by this time. So I was really, really successful. And so in the end, I just thought, you know what? Got to do it myself.
Right.
Got to do it myself. Yeah. They won't give me the opportunity. I'll find 500 quid from somewhere, which I'd probably saved up or didn't pay the rent or whatever. Made my first record and off I went. Remember taking the specials to every record company, turned them down. Every record company turned them down. I took him to Seymour Stein, who unfortunately just died last week, who was Madonna's manager. Brought him up to Coventry, And he said, it's punk reggae. I went, and? Didn't see it.
Oh, word.
Yeah.
The amount of places where I've done gigs and things like that, and people have mentioned specials.
Yeah.
They were a popular group over here, weren't they?
But they were great. But Jerry Dammers was a genius. Again, you know, that's the thing. Jerry, who wasn't from Coventry, is a genius. I mean, he wrote his lyrics are unbelievable with a pop tune.
Yeah.
And as an artist, if you've ever seen his artwork, he's exceptional.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a very clever guy.
But it's very it takes a talent, doesn't it, to have that pop tune and then to have like the meaningful lyrics underneath it.
One of the songs is called Area 51, I think it's called, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I remember, and Too Much Too Young. Those songs were written on the way back from London after we'd done a session. And we ended up in Milton Keynes before Milton Keynes was born. You know, they were still building it. And there were no street names, they were called areas.
Right.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right.
And that's where the songs come from.
Right.
Oh, wow, no way.
Yeah, so, and you know, you listen to those lyrics, they're so political.
Yeah.
They were protest songs with a pop beat.
Yeah.
And a ska rhythm. It's, you know, brilliant.
Yeah, very powerful.
Yeah.
I was listening to a very different, but a song that I've been listening to quite a bit recently was a song called Zombie by the Cranberries.
Yeah.
So when I listened to it when I was a kid growing up, I never got it. It was just, wow, that's a great tune, a great song. And then as I'm older and you listen to it again, oh wow, you know, you understand like the story and everything to it. But so even the video was so powerful.
Yeah.
Well, Pete, it has been an absolute pleasure. Mate.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much for coming in. It's honestly,
I've got to go fill the car now.
it's been really, really lovely.
Pleasure.
Pleasure.
Julie's going to play us out with this song. This is our theme, Dreams. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and it'll be up on our YouTube channel very soon. Reach out if you're struggling. You don't have to do it on your own. Share the load, and remember, as Pete said before, it's good stuff. Take care.
Yeah. You never know what you got till it's gone, and the memory lingers on. And through it all, you gotta be strong. Sometimes you feel you gotta carry on. Is life supposed to be this way? I'll have tomorrow for today. You think you're there and you got it made, then all your dreams they start to fade. And all the people that you know, they all say I told you so. So you pick yourself up and you start again. That's when you find out who's your friend. The one who's there when you're feeling bad. It makes you happy when you're sad. You never know what you got till it's gone, and the memory lingers on. Woo! Cheers.